Have you ever had times where you wish you could go back to certain moments in your life and relive them and do something different with them? I don't mean that in really unhealthy ways where we brood on things that we can't change and make ourselves depressed and ruin what we have now, but I mean in a healthy way where you think back and realize, I didn't handle that situation very well, or I could have done this differently, or I should have been thinking about this instead of that. As I've gotten older, hopefully I've grown up a little bit, and I've been thinking back a little bit on the past years recently, and I realized that when my kids were small, I did some things that I shouldn't have done. I treated them in ways that were kind of harsh, or maybe I was impatient with them, and I've done that with other people too, with family members and such. I'm thinking about all of this because in the last week I've seen several members of my own family, and Sarah and I have spent quite a bit of time with most of her family. And I just think about the times that we've spent together in the past and just wish I had used them better. Our relationships are defined not so much by the people that we are with, but by the way we react to them and the way we treat them and the way we see them and the way we respond. And so it's good for us to think about ourselves and what's going on within us. And it's good for us to have some things to help us along the way. This week, I have one verse I want to share with you in the sermon. One scripture that has 5 words in it that are really, really important. In fact, I think if we would think about these 5 words and allow them to, they could guide our relationships. They would make them better. If I could make these 5 words my 5 words, I would treat people better, I would see them better, I would react better, everything would be better. This is not a long sermon, it won't be a complicated sermon, but it's an important one. From the book of Colossians, the sermon is called 5 Words to Guide Our Relationships. And oddly, these are 5 words we rarely talk about, even though they are qualities of God and should be qualities of His people. Help for your relationships on Sunday morning in the sermon. In Bible study, we're going to finish up 1 Kings chapter 14. In that chapter, the writer is talking about the kingdom that has divided. There's been trouble in the north. We looked at that last week. And then the southern kingdom of Judah has its own share of trouble. That begins in verse 21 of 1 Kings 14. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start in the middle of chapter 14. And then we're going to move over to chapter 17, where we are introduced to a new character, a new person. The prophet Elijah shows up. Now, Elijah has an interesting story. Elijah doesn't say much, but he is a huge figure in the Old Testament, and he is prominently mentioned in the New Testament as well. So Elijah shows up in 1 Kings 17, and a couple of weird stories surround him as he enters the scene. But those strange stories teach us a lot, and we'll learn from those as well. So 1 Kings chapter 14 and then chapter 17 is where we'll be this week. It is still summertime. I know a lot of people are away this weekend. People are at weddings. People are preparing for weddings. People are preparing for reunions. There's a lot of stuff going on. Again, with all those family things happening, the sermon about relationships might be really helpful to you. I am really looking forward to this Sunday and sharing the good things that I've studied about, the good things the Word has to share with us. And I hope you're excited about that too. We'll see you then.